I'm Sheila Balgobin, and I am the Dream Decipherer, and I help you to sleep sound and dream deep. This evening, I'm continuing a look at various lesser known sleep disorders, and tonight I'll be looking at narcolepsy. Now, you may have seen in films or cartoons or what have you about people suffering with narcolepsy. They're falling asleep while they're eating their soup, or they're just falling asleep standing up. you know. But despite the humor that may have been exhibited around this issue, it's actually quite serious. Now, to define narcolepsy, it's a disease that causes you to suddenly fall asleep no matter where you are. You can fall asleep during unusual circumstances, such as while you're eating, hence falling asleep in your soup. Now, people with narcolepsy are unable to regulate their sleeping and waking cycle, which is what causes this misfiring. Now, some of the symptoms that indicate that you might be a problem with narcolepsy is you fall asleep without warning. That's the most obvious. Or feeling very drowsy during the day, suffering from sleep paralysis, and that's when you're kind of halfway between sleeping and waking. The mind has woken up, but the body is still locked in the dream state, so it's paralyzed. Another symptom is something called cataplexy, which is a temporary loss of muscle control, which can actually just make you collapse. That can be brought on, this condition of cataplexy can be brought on by strong emotions such as anger or even laughter. Hallucinations can occur as you're moving from this waking to sleep state, or vice versa, which is going from waking state to sleep is hypnagogic, while going from the sleep state to the waking state is hypnopompic. But in either case, because you're in between the sleeping and waking state going in either direction, the brain is kind of misfiring and doesn't quite know where it is, and therefore can actually cause hallucinations. Other signs can be insomnia and disturbed nighttime sleep. It is believed that many of the cases of narcolepsy that occur may be caused by the lack of a brain chemical called hypocretin, or orexin it's also known as, which helps to regulate sleep. Now, it's believed that this deficiency is caused by the immune system attacking parts of the brain that produce this hypocretin. But that's not always the case. Now, antibodies are generally produced by the body to counteract poison, toxins, disease. But during some research done back in 2010, Swiss scientists found that some people who have narcolepsy antibodies against a protein called TRIB2. Now, this TRIB2 is also produced in an area of the brain where this hypocretin is produced, so that when these antibodies are released by the system, it impacts the level of hypocretin and reduces it, meaning that the brain is no longer able to regulate its normal sleep cycles. Now, that's all well and good, and the research does help further things along, but apparently there's still no explanation as to why some people still suffer with narcolepsy and have normal levels or near normal levels of hypocretin. It's a mystery. What causes narcolepsy to occur? There are various factors that can cause it, or cause an autoimmune problem of some other type. Some examples include genetics and inherited fault, hormonal changes, including those that take place around puberty or menopause, major psychological stress. Somebody going through a bereavement or some kind of divorce or some kind of major life change may find themselves subject to narcolepsy. A sudden and abrupt change in sleeping patterns may bring it on. Infections such as swine flu or streptococcal infections, and the flu vaccine called pandemics. This is, however, a small risk, and it seems to be particularly related to children taking this flu vaccine. Now, it's not certain, research has not been done to determine whether any of these actually play a role in the development of narcolepsy or is merely a side effect, if you will. What happens with a person who suffers with narcolepsy and their sleep? The total times that someone spends someone with narcolepsy spends in sleep may not actually differ from other people. But what does change significantly is the sleep cycles and the decrease in the quality of their sleep. Now, just to explain a little bit, the sleep cycle is made up of various levels of brain activity, known as either REM or rapid eye movement sleep, where you're dreaming, and non-REM sleep. Your, the activity is increased and you may dream. Now, sleep starts with 3 stages of non-REM sleep first, followed by a short period of REM sleep. And this pattern of coming in and out of deeper levels of sleep happens several times during the night and speeds up as we get closer to our waking time. Now, for a person with it's more fragmented, and they may end up waking several times during the night. It may also affect when REM sleep occurs, which may be much earlier than normal after falling asleep. And dreaming become paralyzed so that you basically don't act out your dreams. You're actually not asleep. You're still partially conscious, which is why the brain is overactive, if you will, during that time. Other things that can be a result of narcolepsy are underlying health conditions that damage areas of the brain that produce hypocretin. So it's not the narcolepsy necessarily that's the issue, but it's the effect of something. For example, narcolepsy can develop after a head injury or brain tumor, multiple sclerosis, or encephalitis when the brain swells. So narcolepsy is something that can only be actually diagnosed by a doctor to actually see what's going on with the brain activity, so that sleep testing will need to be done to determine if that's actually the case. It can be controlled by medication, but there may also be certain lifestyle changes and certain things that you can do to actually reduce the incidence, and your doctor would be able to best advise you on that. So there you have it. That's narcolepsy. It may sound like something very funny where people are literally falling asleep at the switch, but it can have very serious implications. Think about it. If you were subject to this and driving, think about that. There's no way of knowing how many car accidents, fatal car accidents even, are the result of people having these narcoleptic attacks, but it's certainly a possibility. So it is something quite serious. And if you think that that's an issue, go and make a telephone consultation with your GP as soon as possible. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Have a great bank holiday if you're here in the UK, and a wonderful week to come. Also, a great Memorial Day if you're in the States. Take care. Bye-bye.